Okay, we are sort of live. Are we live? We're live. And we're just waiting for the Amazon stream to start up here. And we'll get going. This will be kind of a fun one. There we go. So we're live on Amazon. Perfect. So what are we doing today? Well, we have about an hour and a half, 90 minutes, before I have to get on my next call. And I thought what we would do today is unbox and set up this enclosure. And this is from a company called ACASIS. And they've been making these enclosures for a while, but this one is a Thunderbolt compatible one because it is incorporating the new Thunderbolt components of USB 4. And we're going to see a lot more of these types of devices now because they don't have to pay Intel for a Thunderbolt license. It just works with Thunderbolt. And they also said this should work with a USB-equipped computer as well. So we're going to try it. First of all, we're going to put the an NVMe into it. So I got this 970 Evo here that I bought. And I've been using this. This is actually what I use to record videos on the channel on my desktop computer. So I have a lot of experience with this one. So we're going to install this in here. And then we're going to hook it up to this laptop here. This is something you're going to see reviewed on the channel in a couple of days. This is on loan from Lenovo. This is their 9i leather. It actually has a leather case on it. Isn't that crazy? At least the top part. It's like got a leather. It's like real leather. It's really crazy. So this not only has a nice looking machine here, but this is 11th generation Intel. It's got Thunderbolt 4. So we'll benchmark it on the Yoga here. And then we'll hook it up to my Surface Laptop Go to make sure it works with that. We'll hook it up to the Mac. We'll test it there. We got a lot of stuff to do. I'm not sure we're going to get to all of it in 90 minutes, but we're going to give it a go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unbox this. And I'm going to be recording a video while we do this. So if you don't mind, if you're watching and people are coming in saying, why do you keep doing things over and over again? It's because I'm recording the video and I wasn't happy with the take. So I'm trying to maximize my time. So these have been working out really well. And I've enjoyed doing them because I get a lot of great feedback while I record these videos. Just check battery levels here. We're good on that. And I just got to find something that I can use to open the box up here. I have to clean this place up again. It's gotten to be a disaster once again. So yeah, we're going to be doing all this. So in any event, we got some people popping into the chat. So I figured, let me add the little chat thing that I have. And I'll say hello to some folks. David's Devices is here. Thank you for tuning in on Amazon. We're on Amazon too. And if you click the link, you can see all the stuff we're looking at here on my Amazon live stream. I think this is a little on the pricey side, but I don't know if this price is the price that this is supposed to cost because it looks like it's a third-party seller. So I think it's selling for like $179 just for the enclosure, which is a lot. So I don't know exactly what the price is on this one at the moment. So let me just add my social thing in here, and let's see, are we getting comments over? Not yet. Hang on, folks. Let me just turn this on. Got to connect it also. Okay, and on, and now I should be getting, there we go. All right, so I'll start saying hello to some folks, and then we got to get moving because I got one of these hard outs. I got to be out of here by 2:30. David Larson says, I am alive. I hope so. I am alive, or I am live. I am alive. That's right. Romeric is here. Greg is here. Thinks he's alive, but that's debatable. I have days like that. Beta Balba is here. Andy G is here. Cedar Lake is here. Ed H is here. Caribe is here from Ohio. David's World is here. And Ed H is heading over to Amazon. Thank you. Yeah, definitely follow me over there. I'm trying to build up my audience. For sure. Greg says, ouch, that is expensive. Yeah, I don't know if this is the price, though, or if this is just some reseller marking it up. So I don't know what the price is. Edman is on the Amazon chat now. And Gurav Adwant from India, thank you very much for the kind words. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Shall we get to the unboxing and go from there? And I'm going to hit the record button. So I'm going to record this as we stream it like we usually do. And my wife is upstairs making cookies, so you might hear some noise from the mixer. My mother-in-law is here, and they're making cookies upstairs. But apparently, today's the day they make the dough And then tomorrow they actually cook the cookies. So I'm not eating anything until tomorrow. And there you go. All right, so let me get the plastic off of this, and then we will do the unboxing. And we'll record that. And apparently you get everything you need in this thing. We have a viewer from Costa Rica joining us. I bet you the weather's nicer there. That is Rakas Maran. Thank you. Welcome. And Edman says fermented cookies. Yeah, I think they put the dough in the fridge overnight. It's funny, my 4-year-old loves to bake. She loves baking. So Nick's got a good question. Can you boot from the Enclosure? I believe you probably could. And I may not have time to test that right now, but I might try that on my Mac upstairs. Maybe I'll pop a Linux install on the drive and see if I can boot from it. I'm pretty sure you can. I guess it's going to be a matter of whether or not the computer recognizes the Thunderbolt in the BIOS, right? Or if it switches to USB. I don't know. We'll give it a shot. Okay. Yeah, so again, I don't know if the price that you see is the actual price for this, because I think it's a third-party seller. So that's why I'm not going to comment on price right now, because I just don't know what it really costs. And I think they're sleeping. They're from Shenzhen, China, and it's like 1 a.m. right there now. So I don't have. I could send her an email and see if she's awake. Because I just started getting this stream ready and noticed that the price was like, whoa, kind of pricey. Let me check out their Amazon page here real quick. Yeah, it says $179, but I don't think this is what it's supposed to cost. It just seems like a lot, especially given they don't have to pay the Thunderbolt fee on there. Let me send an email to her and see if she's awake. $179 is a lot. I mean, I would expect that for a Thunderbolt device, but not one that's, you know, that's not paying that fee now. Okay, so let's see if she writes back. Okay, so let's get the unboxing going here. And I have to make sure that I guess it tells you on the back here what, yeah, so it's B and M key. M key, B and M key. So what's the difference there? Let me pull that up for a second. So they do have on the Amazon page, and I think what I'll do here is put this image into the mix. Supports M key interface. So B and M key, and they have like a helpful graphic here, which I will put into the video system here. Let me just copy that over to my NAS drive, and we'll get going on that. And David's Devices says the ability to boot will depend on the BIOS boot option. So it's going to vary based on the computer. And my guess is, if it's cross-compatible, this is the tricky thing, is that if the computer sees it as a Thunderbolt device, that might impact it, right? If it sees it as a USB device, then it probably would work just like any other USB device would. But I might try, maybe I'll try like loading Linux up on my MacBook upstairs with it. I have the M1 Mac on the table with me right now, so that's... All right, let's pull up the... That's, you know, nothing's easy anymore. It used to be either it was yes or no. Now, well, it depends on what you got. And you may not even be able to like get an answer without just buying it and trying it out for yourself, right? So that's the tricky part. And I think this is the image here. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to put this up so people can see what it works with. Okay. All right, so let's get the unboxing going here, and we'll begin recording. And remember, folks, if you're watching me do this, I am recording this while we shoot the video. Here's another question that I don't have an answer to. The storage capacity limit. I don't know. I would imagine, let's see. I'm looking on the Amazon page here. I would imagine, let's see, capacity. 8 terabytes. They say 8 terabytes on the product page. So that is what the capacity is. Okay, so let's unbox it. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's take this thing out of the box and we'll see what's inside. And we'll pull everything out here. So we have a little instruction guide here that gives you some information about what it supports and how to install the drive. It looks like it supports the M key, and I'll give you an image they have up on their Amazon product listing. So it's the M key interface, B and M, and you can see what it supports here. So what it doesn't work with are B key drives, but M and B and M keys do work. So if you are curious as to whether or not your drive is compatible, there you go. It looks like it's only NVMe and not serial ATA according to the graphic here. I believe it can support up to 8 terabytes of capacity if you can find a drive that large. So there you go. It looks as though it will support regular Type-C connections and Thunderbolt, as I mentioned, so we'll give that a shot in a little bit. Here is the enclosure itself. It is all metal, which I hope it would be because it's going to need to dissipate some heat there. And then I guess you just pry open the bottom here. There is a screwdriver that it comes with along with some mounting screws here as well. And it does have a Thunderbolt 3 cable. And this will apparently work not only with Thunderbolt but also with USB-C. So there you go, and then you've got your connector there on the side. So let me see if I can pry this open with my hands, otherwise I might need to get a screwdriver out. Now the screwdriver they give you is a Phillips head, and I don't know if that's going to easily pop the thing open here for us, so let me give it a shot here and see. There's a little bit of a lip on it, but yeah, it's really, really tough there. So let me get this thing open, and then we'll take a look and see how our drive can go inside of it. All right, so that was the recording part there. Let's just add that to our thing and make sure it works. I should probably read the instructions as to how to pry that open. Yes, it's just remove the back plate, but it's in there pretty good. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to get a Phillips head out to pry that open, or my Leatherman. All right, so let me just add this to the list real quick. Bear with me for 1 second, folks. I see I got some questions coming in. Nick MG says it would be great for game storage. Yeah, I think it would be. It depends on, it's nice, and this is what we'll do is after we get it installed, I'll run the crystal disk mark test on it and see what we get. Because I did run the test on one of these drives, the same 970 EVO that's inside my computer that I'm recording this on. All right, let's take a look at the unboxing. I'm just going to play this back real quick. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's take this thing out of the box and we'll see what's inside. And we'll pull everything out here. So we have a little instruction guide here that gives you some information about what it supports and how to install the drive. It looks like it supports the M key, and I'll give you an image they have up on their Amazon product listing. So it's the M key interface, B and M, and you can see what it supports here. So what it doesn't work with are B key drives, but M and B and M keys do work. So if you are curious as to whether or not your drive is compatible, there you go. It looks like it's only NVMe. By the way, I'm just playing this back to make sure I'm happy with it. And not serial ATA according to the graphic here. I believe it can support up to 8 terabytes of capacity if you can find a drive that large. So there you go. It looks as though it will support regular Type-C connections and Thunderbolt, as I mentioned, so we'll give that a shot in a little bit. Here is the enclosure itself. It is all metal, which I hope it would be because it's going to need to dissipate some heat there. And then I guess you just pry open the bottom here. There is a screwdriver that it comes with along with some mounting screws here as well. And it does have a Thunderbolt 3 cable. And this will apparently work not only with Thunderbolt but also with USB-C. So there you go, and then you've got your connector there on the side. So let me see if I can pry this open with my hands, otherwise I might need to get a screwdriver out. Now the screwdriver they give you is a Phillips head, and I don't know if that's going to easily pop the thing open here for us, so let me give it a shot here and see. There's a little bit of a lip on it, but yeah, it's really, really tough there. So let me get this thing open, and then we'll take a look and see how our drive can go inside of it. Okay, we're good. I got to go find my screwdrivers real quick, so talk amongst yourselves. I had them on the desk, and I moved them to where? I don't know. What did I do with my screwdrivers? Maybe my Leatherman is in here. Let's see if I can get that out. I just want to find like a Phillips head or something that I can pop in there just to get that thing open. This might work. I got a Stanley screwdriver. That should pop that thing off. So let's see if we can get that, that thing off there. And Blingsy Cultures has a question, so absolutely, ask away. There it goes. Okay. Yeah, I just needed to have something with a little bit more strength to pop it open. All right, so we're going to pick it up on camera 2, and then we'll go in and install the drive. So it just needs you just need something stronger than the screwdriver that it came with. All right, so let me switch to camera 2. And yeah, Terry says, typically getting older. Yeah, I had them on the, you know, it's funny, I had the tools on my desk yesterday because I was shooting the wrap-up video, and I remember them being there in the way, and I was concerned I would knock them off the desk when my hands start going, and now I don't know what happened to them, so, oh well. All right, so let's pick it up from here. 3, 2, 1. All right, I was able to get that top part, let me start again. Oops, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I was able to get that top part pried off. It didn't take much. I just had to get out a beefier screwdriver just to kind of nudge it off the clip that it's in. I don't know what it's in, actually. Let me start that again. You know what's concerning, actually, is I don't know how this is going to cool itself, because they give you this mask. It's not, like, thick at all. So I don't know if the drive even comes in contact with the top plate. We'll find out when it goes back in. Maybe it does. Because one of the things that you got to be careful, the drives will the good drives will deal with the thermals automatically, but you still want some contact between the drive and the metal to cool it off. And this is not very thick at all. Let me look at those instructions real quick and see what it says to do. Yeah, it doesn't like even have you, I don't think this drive here has any heating pads or thermal transfer pads in here, does it? Because usually the enclosure comes with that. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like it's got that. Okay. Well, we'll just do our thing here. It's not very thick at all. And you stick this to the top of the drive. But I don't know what this is going to do. Yeah, I'm a little concerned with that. Okay, we'll see how it goes. So JC wants to know whether or not this is actually Thunderbolt USB 4. Yeah, we're going to put that to the test, because I do have a USB-C equipped laptop here. And we will know for sure once I get my act together and start installing all this stuff. So stay tuned. We will have that ready for you in a second here once I just get my bearings here. So, all right, let's try this again. But yeah, they say this one works with both, and we will definitely know whether or not that's the case in just a second. I'm just, yeah, it's just kind of, it doesn't look all that well built. But we'll see what happens. It's a brand new drive. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, so I got the top part here pried off. I just needed to get a bigger screwdriver that I could get a little bit more leverage and strength with. So that popped off. It doesn't screw in. You just snap it back on. And I'll give you a look at the internals here. Doesn't look like much, but we'll see how it all works. Now what I'm going to do is install the NVMe drive here that I purchased. So I'm going to pop that in there and just pop it down there. And we just need to screw it down with one of the 2 included screws that it comes with. So let me get that screw on there, and we'll put it all back together and see how it performs. All right, so that was a good little take there. And we'll just add that to the mix. 3. It's actually very easy to set these things up because there's not much to it. It only goes in one way. And Arif Hassan is here, as right on schedule with the Atari VCS comment. 3, 2, 1. All right, so I got the top part here pried off. I just needed to get a bigger screwdriver that I could get a little bit more leverage and strength with. So that popped off. It doesn't screw in. You just snap it back on. And I'll give you a look at the internals here. Doesn't look like much, but we'll see how it all works. Now what I'm going to do is install the NVMe drive here that I purchased. So I'm going to pop that in there and just pop it down there. And we just need to screw it down with one of the 2 included screws that it comes with. So let me get that screw on there, and we'll put it all back together and see how it performs. Okay, I could live with that. And what I'm going to do now is just screw this down so that we can finish this up. And the screwdriver is not magnetic, which would have helped, I think, get that screw on because it's so tiny. So I need my 7-year-old here to help me with the screws. If I could find my other screwdriver set, I could get this on quicker. Let's put that in there like that. There we go. And we'll just tighten it up. I like these Samsung drives. I have these in my, my production computer here. And they work really well. All right. So that is in place. And we'll just pop the... Oh, you know, I think I should talk about the thermal pad. Because I'm looking here, it doesn't look like... Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's no way that's gonna touch anything. All right, so let me pick it up over here. So we'll pick it up on camera 2. And I'm just gonna undo the pad here just to get it ready. I don't know what this transfers to. There's like nothing. There's nothing that this comes in contact with. So I don't even. Doesn't even mention in the instructions what you're supposed to do with that pad. It just says put the SSD in, and then put the cover back on. That's it. In fact, it doesn't even say that it comes with a pad. So we'll have to see what comes up there. Mario has a question about adding FireWire to the Mac, and you can actually. I have Apple actually sells a Thunderbolt to FireWire adapter, and I have one because I have an old DV camcorder that I have. I actually have a bunch of footage from college on it that I'm trying to get off of it, and so it's been. I bought one specifically for that. So you can look for the Thunderbolt to FireWire adapter, and I can't remember if the one I got was a Thunderbolt 2 adapter, and they have multiple adapters, so you can get, if they don't have a Thunderbolt 3 to FireWire, you get the FireWire to Thunderbolt 2, and you buy the Thunderbolt 2 to Thunderbolt 3 adapter, so you have 2 adapters like plugged into each other, but it works, as crazy as that sounds. JC says, I got the new MacBook Pro and didn't realize that the USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 is limited to 10 gigabits per second on that laptop. And so, all right, so JC, you are correct in that this drive apparently, and we'll put it on my MacBook Air because I have an M1 MacBook Air. So if you have the new MacBook Pro, you are correct that the USB 2x2 is not faster than 10 gigabits because it doesn't support 2x2. And we did a whole video on this whole confusing USB thing because the 20 gigabits per second or 40 gigabits per second that this supports is through the Thunderbolt standard, not through the USB 2x2 standard. It is so confusing. And SanDisk recently came out with a pair of drives. One of them supports 2x2, and it's terribly confusing. All right, let me get this unpeeled here. This is not easy to get this thing unpeeled. I don't even think this is going to do anything. It's so thin. There's like nothing to it. It doesn't touch anything. Because if I put this in here, I'm just going to lay it down flat here. It doesn't even come in contact with the top of it. I don't think. What I should do is put like a little. Yeah, I'm going to put it on just to get it in there. I just can't seem to get it to start. Let me get my little screwdriver out here and see if I can slide it in there. All right, there we go. Okay. It's like a little piece of Teflon tape. It's like nothing. Usually like you get a thick pad. This is like a tiny, thin thing. All right, so we ended the last clip on the overhead. And I'm going to pick it up over here. And we'll go from there. 3, 2, 1. Now, one thing that I noticed was in the box that wasn't mentioned in the instructions is a little thermal pad they give you. But look how thin this is. There's like no width to it. So I don't even know if this is going to come in contact with the top of the case to cool it off. But I'm going to put that on top anyhow just because it's in the box and it's something you should probably do. But it doesn't feel like it does anything. I don't think the top of the case here even comes in contact with the top of the drive either. So I'm not sure how well this is going to do on heat dissipation. And the one thing about thermals on these devices is that it's going to be dependent on the drive that you have. So some drives handle those thermals better than others do. So just keep that in mind as you're using this, that you might see different performance than what we might measure on this in a few minutes. So I'm going to snap this together now. Oops, sorry about that, little jump cut. I'm going to snap this together now, and there we go. So I think we are all assembled. So what I'm going to do next is boot up the Windows PC I have on my desk here. This supports Thunderbolt 4, so it should work fine with this. And we're going to run some benchmarks on it, get an idea as to how it's performing versus being installed directly. And then after that, we'll try it on a Mac and on a USB-equipped computer as well. So let's get it plugged in and see what happens. All right, that was not the best take, but it's doable. I could probably edit out that little jump that I put in there. So I'm just going to watch that real quick. I mean, it's so easy to install these things. There's really nothing to it. Okay, so let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Now, one thing that I noticed was in the box that wasn't mentioned in the instructions is a little thermal pad they give you. But look how thin this is. There's like no width to it. So I don't even know if this is going to come in contact with the top of the case to cool it off. But I'm going to put that on top anyhow just because it's in the box and it's something you should probably do. But it doesn't feel like it does anything. I don't think the top of the case here even comes in contact with the top of the drive either. So I'm not sure how well this is going to do on heat dissipation. And the one thing about thermals on these devices is that it's going to be dependent on the drive that you have. So I'm just going to rewind it real quick. I just want to watch one part here. There's like no width to it. So I don't even know if this is going to come in contact with the top of the case to cool it off. But I'm going to put that on top anyhow just because it's in the box and it's something you should probably do. But it doesn't feel like it does anything. I don't think the top of the case here even comes in contact with the top of the drive either. So I'm not sure how well this is going to do on heat dissipation. And the one thing about thermals on these devices is that it's going to be dependent on the drive that you have. So some drives handle those thermals better than others do. So just keep that in mind as you're using this, that you might see different performance than what we might measure on this in a few minutes. So I'm going to snap this together now. Oops, sorry about that, little jump cut. I'm going to snap this together now, and there we go. So I think we are all assembled. So what I'm going to do next is boot up the Windows PC I have on my desk here. This supports Thunderbolt 4, so it should work fine with this. And we're going to run some benchmarks on it, get an idea as to how it's performing versus being installed directly. And then after that, we'll try it on a Mac and on a USB-equipped computer as well. So let's get it plugged in and see what happens. Okay, that looks good. And we'll get this computer booted up. Oh, I already scratched the leather a little bit on this thing. So this is the Lenovo 9i Leather. This is on loan from Lenovo, by the way. This is going back to them later this week. The review of this is already done, so you're going to see this pop up in a couple of days. But right now, this is like the fastest, newest laptop I have in the repertoire. So we're going to try it on this one and see what we get. And I think this is a 4x4 Thunderbolt connection. So we should be good there. And let me just pop into it here. Now what's neat about this laptop is that it's got leather on the top of it, which is crazy. And then they're starting to introduce some new concepts in trackpads. So this is an all-glass panel down here. There's nothing moves. So the trackpad has that haptic feedback similar to the Macs and stuff. So it's kind of neat, kind of a neat concept. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so I am going to plug it in to this, and we'll see how it works. Alberto De Silva wants to know, is there any downside to running a Plex server on a PC with the media stored in a WD Elements external hard drive? I don't think so. I mean, unless you've got like a lot of people hitting it. Usually even the Blu-ray stuff doesn't have that high a bit rate as far as versus what that drive can deliver. So I think you should be okay there. I think what I want to do also, what's the, there's an app that I've used before that gives you like the full list of all the connections that something has. Well, I guess we'll see if it shows up as Thunderbolt in the Thunderbolt control panel. So let's do that. And I'm going to be very careful about maximizing the Thunderbolt bus on this. But I think what I'm going to do is plug this into my video output on this port. I got a little hub here because I want to be able to show that it shows, show it what it shows up as, right? Because we want to know whether or not this is coming in as Thunderbolt or USB. And it should show up as a Thunderbolt device when I connect it. So that's what I want to test first. So let's plug this into our Connect Spark here. And bear with me for 1 second, folks. I just got to get this box hooked up so I can capture some footage from the computer. Oops. And this PC has a 4K display on it. So I'm going to have to turn everything down to 1080. And let's plug that in there. And we're going to add an input real quick. All right, give it a second here for that to come online. There we go. I'm going to add that. Don't crash, don't crash, please don't crash. Okay, so there we go. And I think we're mirroring, perfect. And let's see what we have the display output set to. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we got that going. And this is on one Thunderbolt port, so this should not interfere with what the other one is doing, hopefully, provided I don't wreck the connector here in the process. Okay. So I want that, make that fall. Okay, so they were good there. And here we go. First of all, Grayson Petty, thank you very much for the super chat. He wants to know what lavalier mic I am using. So I am using a Sennheiser mic. I have the Sennheiser AVX system is what I use for the wireless, and this is a compatible. I got to look up the exact model number. Let me see which one they had me buy. Okay, so the cardioid that I have, the ME104, I think is the one that I'm using here. Yeah, the ME104, which works with the AVX. But it's basically the Sennheiser, it's the Sennheiser lavalier cardioid. And I got a cardioid because sometimes there's a little bit of noise down here, and it isolates noise pretty well. So that's what I use. And I don't do any processing on it. I think I am not a very good, I'm not good at anything, to be honest with you. But I'm not very good at audio, nor am I good at lighting. So I don't know if I could make it sound better if I were to do some adjustment to the audio settings and stuff. All right, so we should probably record this part because we want to see if it smokes or blows up, right? Because that's always good TV. All right, so there we go. We got the drive hooked up here. JC says, hopefully it comes with a good cable. Yeah, it actually feels like a decent cable. Now, what's interesting on these Thunderbolt cables is that I believe the cable has to be certified by Thunderbolt to have the Thunderbolt label on it. So even though the device isn't certified, the cable is. So that is good. It does feel like a good cable. And Mikhail Kunistov is here. He saw me on YouTube. He's on the Amazon chat. Pretty good stuff. Okay, we'll figure it out. And the wallpaper here, yeah, this is Lenovo's wallpaper. It's pretty cool on their newer systems. Okay, so let's do this, right? Let's plug it in. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're ready to go here. We've got the Thunderbolt cable attached on one end, and we will plug it in here to the other. Again, this is the cable that it came with. Feels pretty nice, decent Thunderbolt cable. There goes my other adapter there. And I did not hear the system beep to say that it discovered something being plugged in. The light here did light up. And what I'm curious about here is whether or not this shows up as a Thunderbolt device or a USB device. So let's jump over to the screen here and see. And it looks like it is picking it up as a USB 4 SSD. And it does say that it's connected. So what I'm going to do now is jump into the disk utility here and format it, and let's see if we can write some data to it. So that's interesting. It doesn't show up as Thunderbolt. It shows up as USB 4, but it recognizes it as a Thunderbolt device. Isn't that interesting? So let me watch that again. That went pretty quick, and I just want to make sure that it's making sense to me. So let me pull up my recording here. We got to move quick here because I've got to call at 2:30. So I might be back if I don't have enough time to finish before then. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're ready to go here. We've got the Thunderbolt cable attached on one end, and we will plug it in here to the other. Again, this is the cable that it came with. Feels pretty nice, decent Thunderbolt cable. There goes my other adapter there. And I did not hear the system beep to say that it discovered something being plugged in. The light here did light up. And what I'm curious about here is whether or not this shows up as a Thunderbolt device or a USB device. So let's jump over to the screen here and see. And it looks like it is picking it up as a USB 4 SSD. And it does say that it's connected. So what I'm going to do now is jump into the disk utility here and format it. And let's see if we can write some data to it. Okay, I think we're good. I can live with that. So let's go over to disk management and see if it shows up on the list. Okay, it did show up. Perfect. All right, so let's pick it up from here. Does that look legible to you all? I'm going to take a look and see what it looks like on the stream here real quick. I think that looks legible, although I don't know if it's down converting from 4K. Let me just take a stab here at the resolution. Yeah, so it's at 4K. Let's go down to 1080. That's much better. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think this looks better, right, everybody? Yeah, I think it was downscaling that. Let me see how it looks on the stream here. Yeah, it looks better. Okay. Yeah, so we will. I may have to roll in some B-roll. I think that looks better now, though, right, everybody? Let me pop into the stream and watch it for myself and take a look and see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks much better. Okay, that's what I wanted. Yeah, it was downscaling to from 4K to 1080. Okay, good. So that is fixed. All right, so we'll pick it up from here. 3, 2, 1. And I'm just going to do like the GPD style, whatever. Okay. I'm just going to get it formatted because I just want to do a test. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we went into disk management here, and it does find a drive, which is good. So we're going to go ahead here and format it. I'm going to make this one an NTFS drive, and I might change that when I get, I think I might do. Shoot. This is what I do when I move too quick. Let's pop this out. And I should have done that differently, but and we'll do that. And let's do a quick refresh. Well, now I really upset it. Okay, there we go. All right, so I think I've got to just save part of this and then go into the formatting part. So I think what I might do is do exFAT first, because then I could use it on both the Mac and the PC. So let me just salvage whatever I can out of this. And we'll say 6 GPD, salvage what you can. Okay. Good news is it won't be a jump cut, so that's good. More or less, because it's already just showing the computer screen. Okay. So let's go ahead and 3, 2, 1. All right, so I've got an unformatted drive here. I'm just going to right-click and create a new volume. I'm going to click Next here and click Next again to get the maximum. We're going to have it assign drive letter D. I'm going to set this up as exFAT just so that I can plug this into my Mac and write to it in addition to the PC here. And to save time, we're going to do a quick format. These Samsung drives are usually pretty reliable. And there we go. We are now formatted and we're ready to go. Let's start off with a Blackmagic disk speed test, and then we'll try out the Crystal disk mark test and see how this drive performs versus how it does when it's plugged into a desktop computer. All right, that'll work. Let me just watch that real quick. Setting up drives is super easy, right? It's not much of a how-to because it's pretty self-explanatory. All right. I just like to do these step-by-step things. I think people like watching the process. So let's try that. 3, 2, 1. All right, so I've got an unformatted drive here. I'm just going to right-click and create a new volume. I'm going to click Next here and click Next again to get the maximum. We're going to have it assign drive letter D. I'm going to set this up as exFAT just so that I can plug this into my Mac and write to it in addition to the PC here. And to save time, we're going to do a quick format. These Samsung drives are usually pretty reliable. And there we go. We are now formatted and we're ready to go. Let's start off with a Blackmagic disk speed test, and then we'll try out the Crystal disk mark test and see how this drive performs versus how it does when it's plugged into a desktop computer. Okay, I can live with that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab the two benchmarking tools that I have stored on my server. So let's grab the disk speed test first. Oops. The one thing with this this glass trackpad on this thing is that it's very tricky. Like you have to kind of relearn your clicking and dragging skills because you can't put your thumb down. This doesn't seem to work the same way. Here's Crystal. Oops. See what I mean? Like it gets a little jumpy. Not as good as the Mac trackpad. I point that out in my my review. All right. So we're going to copy the Crystal disk mark over. And we'll go from there. Yeah, Grayson, we're going to try to fix that part in post because I did have that recorded on the prior take, so we'll try to fix that in the edit version. Okay. And somebody let Pinko Polino here know why we're repeating things. It's because we're recording a video while we stream. That's how I do my live streams. Got to make the most of my time, right? So there we go. Okay, so we are formatted, and I'm going to close out that dialog. And let's load up the Blackmagic disk speed test. I love the UI on this test. It's really nice. And we're going to point it at drive letter D. Okay, so what we're going to do is bring in, I have this image from testing this same drive on my desktop earlier. It's not the exact same drive, but it's the drive that I use on the PC here on my desk. So that is what we got on that one. And now we'll compare it out to this one, and that's how we'll kind of run this thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just zoom in the video input so we have something, so like we'll have that, which will look a lot nicer because you can see more that way. All right, so that's how we're going to do that. Okay, let's give it a roll, see what we do. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. All right, we're ready to do a test. We got the Blackmagic disk speed test here loaded up. This, by the way, is a Yoga 9i leather from Lenovo. They sent this to the channel on loan for a review that I did the other day. Really kind of neat machine. It's got a leather backing on it, but this is the most powerful, or at least the most current laptop that I have here in the studio, and it has a Thunderbolt 4 port. And as you saw, it was detecting that USB 4 device within the Thunderbolt thing. Now, this very same drive is what I use on my desktop computer to record video here on the channel. And this is what I got from that drive on my desktop computer a little bit earlier. About 2.3 gigabytes per second writing and about 2.9 gigabytes per second reading. These drives are super fast, but they tend to be a little bursty because once they heat up, they kind of slow down a bit. But it's never been a problem for my video recording. And what I'm going to do now is hit the start button here on the test, and let's see what we get. And boy, that's disappointing, huh? We're only writing out at about 500 megabytes per second. Although I suspect there's a setting that we have to adjust to get the most out of this, because as you can see here, the read speeds are much closer to what we were experiencing on the desktop. So let me show you what that special setting is to improve performance here on the drive. And now I got to remember what that setting was. What is it? It's the caching thing, right? So we got to go dig around the menus a bit for that. So let me reset the view here, and we'll reset the zoom. And I got to reset the whole thing here. But the reads aren't bad. I think once we get this write caching thing fixed, it will be the same. All right. So that's good though. We're getting Thunderbolt speeds out of this, so that's a good start. You know, it's not as fast as my desktop is, but it's close, right? It's within the margins, and we might see it speed up a bit once we get that going. So let's go and see if I can remember how to do this. And the best part about having all of you on with me is that you'll remind me if I forgot how to do something. So that helps. So we're going to go to hardware. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so there's the drive, and I think if we go to change settings, yes, better performance. Right. Okay, that's where it is. Okay, so let's go jump through that real quick. And what I'm going to do again is zoom in a little bit so I can keep it so people can actually see what we're looking at. And this may not be, this is something you do on Windows with these Thunderbolt drives. I don't know why that is. Maybe one of you can tell me. But there we go. Okay. So here we go. And where did we end the last clip on? Let me just do, I forgot to log my clip here. So we're going to say 8 performance test part 1. And let's play this back real quick. 3, 2, 1. All right, we're ready to do a test. We got the Blackmagic Discs video here on the channel. And this is what I got. A little bursty, because one button here on the test, and let's see what we get. And boy, that's disappointing, huh? We're only writing out at about 500 megabytes per second. Although I suspect there's a setting that we have to adjust to get the most out of this, because as you can see here, the read speeds are much closer to what we were experiencing on the desktop. So let me show you what that special setting is to improve performance here on the drive. Okay, good. I'm happy with that. All right, so now we are going to jump back here. And actually, I'm going to cut it to this, and then we'll cut back over so we don't jump cut. Okay, there we go. And yeah, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, so to fix this, we have to adjust the write cache setting on Windows. And there is a little bit of a warning that comes with this adjustment, and I'll explain as we get into it. So what I've done here is I've just pulled up the Windows Explorer, and I'm just going to go over to the drive here, right-click, and go to Properties. And then what we need to do, let me move the window up here a little bit, is go over to Hardware. We're going to select the Samsung drive here from our list. Now, you've got to pick out the drive that you know you installed inside of your device here, because as you can see, it's got 2 different Samsung drives listed here. I'm going to go over to Properties, and we're going to go over to Change Settings here. And that's going to bring you up another screen here. And this is not going well. Hang on a second. It's in their policies, right? So that's where we have to go. So let me, isn't it weird though that it shows me both drives, unless one is the drive controller? Because I know this has a Samsung drive inside. Bus number 0, target 0, bus number 0, target 0. Huh. This must be the drive controller maybe? Oh, it's location 1, and this is location bus 0, okay. I'm not sure if it's showing me both drives installed in the system or what. All right, let me go back to this in 1 second. Brian Parker's here, by the way, everybody. Hope you're doing well, Brian. We should get you on and just have a chat one day with Doug. Do one of our 3-way broadcasts. Okay, let's try this again. 3, 2, 1. All right, so to fix this problem, we have to adjust the write cache settings on the drive. And to do that, we're going to pull up a Windows Explorer thing here. I'm going to select our test drive here that we formatted a minute ago. go over to Properties, and I'm just going to move the window up here a little bit. What you want to do is go over to Hardware. You want to select the drive that you have installed inside of your enclosure and click on Properties again. And then you need to go over here to Change Settings. And there might be a quicker way to get to that screen, but this is how I usually do it. And then what we're going to do is go over to Policies. And right now you can see that it's set to Quick Removal, which is the default. But we want to actually enable here Better Performance. And that's going to light up this option here for write caching. And this is one of the issues that you will encounter when you do enable this, which is that if you pull the drive out before that cache writes back out to the disk, you could lose data. So you can't treat this like some cheap USB drive that you can just pop out at will. You really got to be careful here to eject it properly before you remove the drive physically. Otherwise, you're in trouble here. I'm going to leave this second option off because I want to get the best performance out of it. So I'm going to click OK here and click OK again. And now the drive has remounted. So now let's go back to the disk speed test. It should be in the same position it was before. I'm just going to point it again at our D drive. And we're going to start the test again. And now, look at that. We're getting much better write speeds. We're not getting what we saw out of my desktop computer here, but this does look a lot better than it did just a minute ago. So not bad there on the writes, although definitely behind what we would see on a desktop computer. There's always some penalty to using one of these enclosures, and usually it tends to be on the right side here, but overall we're doing better than we were before. And again, for reference, this is what we were seeing on the desktop computer when we had this plugged directly into a motherboard. All right, there we go. And I am sure that somebody is going to have a comment for me on that second option. Yeah, okay, drive properties show every drive, always has. Okay, good. And there we go. Joey Mack is enjoying watching me make the videos. This is how we make I call it making the donuts. Remember that? I don't know if all of you were in New England or have experience in New England, but hang on a second. So my mother-in-law can't get on the Wi-Fi for some reason. But show must go on. We got to get this done. Okay, so I think the settings that we had were good. So it's not going to give you desktop performance, but 1.7 gigs per second I'll take. And I'm still running here, and it looks like we're not seeing much throttling either. So that's a good sign, right? And that's going to be kind of indicative of what drive you have installed on it too. So, but it's good. It hasn't slowed down yet. And I like to let this run for a little bit just to see if we get some issues there. But yeah, we used to have this thing called Time to Make the Donuts in New England for. Yeah, there it goes. Looks like it's working fine. It does feel a little jumpy to me, like it's not smooth in its performance, like it kind of bursts up. But that might just be a function of the controller that it's got. Brian Parker, thank you much for your super chat. All right, so now what I want to do is let's go and, yeah, this is the one thing with the write caching is that on Windows for these Thunderbolt drives, this is the only way to get close to the speed that you would get on a Mac. And we're not really testing, what I'm looking for here, because this is the other thing, is that everyone's mileage on this is going to vary. It's getting pretty warm too. Everyone's mileage on this is going to vary based on the SSD that they choose to put inside of it, right? So what you experience with the Samsung 970 EVO will be close to what I have here, but it's not going to be the same for everybody, right? So it's really going to be a very different experience depending on what you're running here. I wonder if my camera's getting a little out of focus. I think it's focused. I think we're okay there. Okay. But we haven't seen any real slowdown here, so it's not getting too hot. John wants to know if we tried this on the ARM MacBook. Not yet, but we are going to do that in just a second. So let me stop the test. What I want to do is just run the Crystal Disk Mark test on it real quick. And then we will plug it into the Mac and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and start that one. And this will take a little while to run. And John says they get hot. Yeah, they all do get hot. And you know, it's interesting, on this drive, the Crystal Disk Mark test runs a lot faster than what you'll see on the test we just ran. So we're already like at this rate here. And I also have that test from before. So this is what I got on the desktop computer with the same drive. And it'll be interesting to see what the sequential read and write performance is on this, because that's where the controllers often, you know, they can do the the super fast direct, whatchamacallit, sequential writes and reads pretty nicely, but it's when you get to the other stuff where it really falls off. So we'll see what we get here. Because already you can see we are running right now half of what we were getting before. So that's the desktop, 1524 on the sequential reads, 792 here. And the Q32 test is a little closer. It's 438 versus 630. Wait till we get to the writes, though. The writes are going to be abysmal. If the reads are this bad, the writes are going to be pretty bad. So there's definitely, I think for sequential reads and writes, this will be okay. But it's not a replacement for plugging the drive right into the motherboard. And we'll plug it into the M1 Mac next. But yeah, back to this Make the Donuts guys. So yeah, there was this guy in New England. I wish I'll have to look his name up, but he used to do the Dunkin' Donuts commercials. And they had this commercial where he'd be waking up in the middle of the morning, like 2 a.m., time to make the donuts. Because they used to actually make the donuts at Dunkin' Donuts. And they don't make them at the store anymore. But I had one of those Dunkin' Donuts near me. Like, they actually had ovens and stuff. They made the donuts. I guess they fried the donuts, but they had fryers and ovens and everything. And they made the donuts right there. It was awesome. And that guy was also, we had a, he was like the guy in every commercial, because we had another like one of these electronic stores. It was called Sound Playground, and he was the guy on those commercials too. It was pretty funny. MDH says, here's the thing with these drives. He's asking if I ever had any experience with bait and switch on NVMe drives, ADATA, changing controllers, and flash. I have found, here's my philosophy on flash drives. I stick with the name brands. I buy Samsung, SanDisk, WD. I have found those to be the most consistent, by far. And they have good warranties, and maybe you pay a little bit more, but you know what? You know they work. They have really long warranties, and a lot of the drives do in this industry, but sometimes the companies don't last that long, right? And the flash memory itself is generally coming from the same factories, right? So Samsung makes their own stuff, SanDisk makes their own stuff. So I've really been much happier with name brand drives over the years, whether it's a pre-built external or putting a name. That's why I put the Samsung in this one, because I know it's going to work. So I've been very happy with that. I don't know what just happened. What happened? Did I just knock something? Something happened on the screen here. We may have to run that. Let's see what the results are when that finishes up. I might run the last two tests again, just because something happened in the background when a second ago. I don't know what happened there. Michael Vale is the Dunkin' Donuts guy. But those were awesome commercials. And I'm sure they are on YouTube. You can check them. You can definitely find them. But yeah, it was always like, time to make the donuts. So I often say that when I come down here, late at night to do something. It's like, time to make the donuts. Okay, So we're going to run the last two tests one more time, just to be sure. I think the results here are valid. Again, they're close to what we got before. But I want to run this again just to be fair. So we're going to do these last two tests again, because something happened on there. Pixel Vogue has some, yeah, I've had some good luck with the Sabrent drives also. And they make these enclosures. I think we'll probably see this same enclosure from them at some point, because whenever I review one of these ACASIS ones, they always write to me like, hey, we got one of those too. So yeah, they make some good NVMe drives. Their rocket drives are pretty quick. I use one of their rocket drives for transferring video off of this, this computer here. All right, we'll let that finish up. And then we'll run the last test, and then we'll pick it up from there. Grayson's going to see a movie at the movie theater. Awesome. Yeah, I don't go to the movies right now. I didn't go to the movies before all this, but now I really don't go. I never leave the house. I just sit in my basement making videos. All right, we're going to let this finish up here. All right, so we're good there. Yeah, and I think what you got to be careful about is some discussion about different types of flash drives. You know, again, like if you're buying a SanDisk drive, you're not subject to the commoditized nature of the flash memory business. So someone who doesn't make their own flash drive will buy the most cost-effective flash media to meet their cost that they need to hit, the price point. So what I found over the years is that from a consistency standpoint, using a SanDisk or a Samsung, you're going to get, generally, I think, their flash memory on there. Crucial, which is Micron, who also makes flash memory. So you're getting the same components every time versus a company that's going to pick and choose what they put in. So that's something to consider. And it looks like my mother-in-law is on the Wi-Fi, so we can go uninterrupted here. And I got to be done in 25 minutes because I got to hop on a call. So we're gonna plow through this part, and then we're gonna hook the Mac up, and then we're going to run over to the little Surface Go laptop and see how it does on that, and we'll see where we end up. So Chris Allegretta got his order in for the Xbox Series S. How you doing, Chris? Good to see you. He's been having so much fun laughing at how severe the Cyberpunk bugs are on PC, and he wants to see how much worse it is on the console ports. I did play it on the Series X, and it wasn't bad. You know, I think my problem with Cyberpunk and a lot of these other, I don't have the drive to really get into it. Like it didn't. What really attracted me to the concept of Cyberpunk was this notion of this dystopian future. I thought I really was a big fan of Neuromancer, the book, as a kid, and so I loved that game. There was a Neuromancer game that was really good, and so that's the kind of stuff that really I was excited about from a storyline perspective. The gameplay to me felt like every other video game, right? It's just like you shoot stuff, you run around, it just didn't grab me. And maybe I don't have the time to play these games as much. I think that's part of it, and I have to I actually do a lot of thought before I even invest into a Netflix or an Amazon show or something, because I need to it needs to grab me otherwise. So, all right, let's go over here, and let me see where we ended on the last clip here. Okay, so we ended on, that's part one. I'm just getting my clips in order here so I don't lose track of where we left off. And then we had clip 9 here, which was post performance test part 2. I'm just going to scrub through this. I'm not going to play it back. I'm just going to scrub through it just to make sure I got everything I needed out of it. All right, so to fix this, probably would just the right cache things. And there might be a quicker way to get to trouble here. I'm going to leave this second option off because I want to get the best performance out of it. So I'm going to click OK here and click OK. Definitely behind what we would see on a desktop computer. There's a desktop computer when we had. Okay, so I'm good. I just wanted to just check that clip and make sure it was all good. Okay, so we're going to get to the end of that clip. So we're ending on this. So we can start back on here and just talk about the test that we just ran. And then I have a screenshot of what it is on a desktop. So the last three numbers on this chart are the random reads and writes. And that often matters the most when you're looking at games and other stuff. And the important thing here is to look at the differences between what you see here on the Enclosure versus what you would get on a desktop machine. So it's a pretty significant difference there, right? There's a penalty that you're going to pay for using this for sure. But what's interesting is that the last one on the list there, which is I guess it's like a single thread write and read, is a little faster on this. Isn't that funny? But the rest of them, right, not as good. So there we go. So Mark Dell had a cyberpunk bug last night. There was a touching point in the story where someone pulls out a chip and hands it to you, but the game loaded in a model of a gun instead of a chip. Yeah, these games are so complex. And you know what's funny? I'm going to admit something to all of you. I have probably put more time into Animal Crossing than I have any other game this year. And part of it's because I play with my 7-year-old daughter. Like, she loves Animal Crossing. Her friends all play it. So it's a really good time for all. JC asked me a question on the Amazon chat. Did I ever end up getting fiber? I'm so happy with his upgrade to AT&T. Yes, I have Comcast fiber, which cost me a fortune, but we're running at 2 gigabits upstream now. I have no problems with bandwidth anymore. I have more bandwidth than I know what to do with. And what's even crazier is that they give you a total of 3 gigabits symmetrical, 2 on a single SFP plus leg, and there's another leg with a gigabit Ethernet connection, which I haven't even figured out what I'm going to do with yet. So I am quite happy. And one more comment here, then I got to get back to work here. Let's you guys, I love talking to you all, but I'm running out of time and I want to get everything in that you all want to see. Chris says, I love that cyberpunk sci-fi. I was hoping for something similar. Yeah, I think this is exact. Chris really summed it up well. I was playing this game. I was playing it over the weekend on my Series X, and I was just like, I don't feel like this game is written for me. It's not like it's like, I don't know. Like it just felt so the same as every other game I've been playing. And it looks different. It's a different setting, but it's almost like an action movie. Like you have like a similar thing that you do, and that's what it felt like to me. It was almost like they spent their energy on the engine and the storyline, which is important, but the gameplay doesn't bring anything new to the table. I think that's what it is. And I've been loving the indie games. That's why I really like the Xbox Game Pass, because there's so many fun indie games to discover, and a lot of them you can pick up and play for a few minutes. That's why I like the Switch so much, because I've been really having a good time with that. All right, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we also just ran the crystal disk mark here in between takes, and this test not only measures your sequential read and write speed like we were doing on the Black Magic test a minute ago, it also looks at random reads and writes, and the last 3 rows of this result here indicate the performance that you'll get out of the drive inside of this enclosure on this computer. And everyone's mileage is going to vary based on the computer you're using, the drive you picked, so your results here will undoubtedly be different than mine. But what we can do is compare it to how this drive performs on a desktop computer. And here you go. This was run a little while ago on my production PC, and you can see here that not only are the sequential reads and writes faster, most of the random reads and writes are a lot quicker plugged directly into a motherboard versus going through the enclosure. There's always a penalty to be had here, and that is what you're seeing play out here between these 2 sets of numbers. But it's still pretty good, I think, for a drive that you can kind of put together yourself. It should work well for gaming and a lot of other applications where you need a little faster performance, not only for sequential reads and writes, but the random reads and writes too. It just won't be as fast as what it is plugged into your computer directly. Let's take a look now at my M1 MacBook Air and see how the drive performs on that. All right, I'm actually doing okay talking today. I haven't had to do too many takes. And I say that now. Sometimes a time crunch really helps with that. All right, so we're going to do real quick, we're going to get the MacBook hooked up, and then we're going to go from there. And Pixel Vogue says, can you test it on the MacBook? You got it. We're doing that's right up right now. It's going to happen right this second. Crystal disk mark, because I got to be on a call in 15 minutes. And then I've got another call that overlaps with the one I'm on. Busy day. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we also just ran the Crystal disk mark here in between takes, and this test not only measures your sequential read and write speed like we were doing on the Blackmagic test a minute ago, it also looks at random reads and writes, and the last 3 rows of this result here indicate the performance that you'll get out of the drive inside of this enclosure on this computer. And everyone's mileage is going to vary based on the computer you're using, the drive you picked, so your results here will undoubtedly be different than mine. But what we can do is compare it to how this drive performs on a desktop computer. And here you go. This was run a little while ago on my production PC, and you can see here that not only are the sequential reads and writes faster, most of the random reads and writes are a lot quicker plugged directly into a motherboard versus going through the enclosure. There's always a penalty to be had here, and that is what you're seeing play out here between these 2 sets of numbers. But it's still pretty good, I think, for a drive that you can kind of put together yourself. It should work well for gaming and a lot of other applications where you need a little faster performance, not only for sequential reads and writes, but the random reads and writes too. It just won't be as fast as what it is plugged into your computer directly. Let's take a look now at my M1 MacBook Air and see how the drive performs on that. Okay, so I'm not rushing, but because I don't have to rush. I can finish this after my call, but I know a lot of you want to see some stuff, so I want to get that going for you. So let's get my MacBook screen up here. Give me 1 second. I just got to put on Do Not Disturb, and I've got to close out. So I'm going to close out my chat thing here for just a second, and let me get that going. Now, the Blackmagic disk speed test on the Mac is now optimized for the M1, which is great. They just changed that out the other day. And on the Mac, I can actually zoom my screen in and out like this. So there you go. Okay, so let's go to camera 2. My bezels look enormous because I am outputting at 1080p. So that is why it looks the way it does. All right, let's get a nice little shot here. And let me get the drive selected. And we'll open that up. Okay, ready, folks? Let's roll. See how we get it done. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, let us go to the system report here and see what it shows up as, just like we did on the Windows side. So we're going to go to Thunderbolt. Oh, interesting. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. So I can show this, and then we can run the test. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we've got it hooked up to my Apple MacBook M1, actually, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we got it hooked up now to my MacBook Air. This is with the new M1 chip. And before we run the speed test, let's take a look at the system report here and see how the drive shows up. So again, it's showing up under the Thunderbolt bus, but it's showing as a USB 4 device. And as you can see here, we are connected at up to 40 gigabits per second. So we are getting the full bandwidth of that cable, I believe. So there you go. That's a good sign. And let's close out of that, and let's get the speed test going here and see how this drive performs. We'll hit the start button. This, by the way, is a new version of the speed test that is optimized for the M1 Mac. And as you can see here, we're getting about the same write speeds we saw on the Windows side, at least on this test. So that's pretty consistent, and the reads are looking pretty consistent here as well. So you will get most of the performance you can get out of this device on a Mac, including the new M1 Macs. And again, it's showing up as a Thunderbolt device because it is using the portions of the Thunderbolt protocol that Intel opened up to the USB protocols. So good stuff there. It looks like things are performing well. Let's take a look now and see how it does with traditional USB on another Windows computer. All right, how's that, everybody? I think that was good. The write speeds are not great here, but I think that was what we were getting out of the other one, right? Let me pull up your chat here. I had to close that out so I didn't have any performance impacts there. So let's go back to 682.79. All right, there we go. All right. Yeah, so Chris Allegretta and Mark is talking about Stadia. Yeah, Stadia has become kind of something to look at if you were, if you have a console that can't run Cyberpunk and you can't get a new console and you don't want to buy an expensive gaming PC. That was a smart move on their part. Sometimes you get lucky, right? And I think this might bring in a lot of people into Stadia. And if you buy it in Stadia, you got to play it in Stadia, so you're going to stick with it, right, for a while. And I think if you buy the game on Stadia, you can stream it for free, but only at 1080p, right? Is that how it works? All right, so the Mac works. All right, so that's good. Let's play that back real quick. This was a little rushed, but I think I can live with it. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we got it hooked up now to my MacBook Air. This is with the new M1 chip. And before we run the speed test, let's take a look at the system report here and see how the drive shows up. So again, it's showing up under the Thunderbolt bus, but it's showing as a USB 4 device. And as you can see here, we are connected at up to 40 gigabits per second. So we are getting the full bandwidth of that cable, I believe. So there you go. That's a good sign. And let's close out of that, and let's get the speed test going here and see how this drive performs. We'll hit the start button. This, by the way, is a new version of the speed test that is optimized for the M1 Mac. And as you can see here, we're getting about the same write speeds we saw on the Windows side, at least on this test. So that's pretty consistent, and the reads are looking pretty consistent here as well. So you will get most of the performance you can get out of this device on a Mac, including the new M1 Macs. And again, it's showing up as a Thunderbolt device because it is using the portions of the Thunderbolt protocol that Intel opened up to the USB protocol. So good stuff there. It looks like things are performing well. Let's take a look now and see how it does with traditional USB on another Windows computer. All right, so let's get this thing powered up here. This is the Surface Laptop Go that I bought. I love this little laptop. It's good for what I use it for because I like to have something small on the desk here. And I just want to check back on my performance from the Windows PC. I'm just looking here at the... Okay, so it's about 500 megabytes per second slower on the Mac than it is on on Windows. But I think what I want to do in a little while is plug it into my, and I won't be able to do this on the stream, but I want to plug it into my MacBook Pro upstairs because that one's got the 4-lane Thunderbolt, and I think the MacBook Air is only 2-lane. I don't know if that's going to have any impact, but it just was weird to see that like that. All right, we are like pretty much at the limit here on time, but let me see if I can at least get the drive to be recognized. Yeah, so so if you wanted to know if this is compatible with USB, because I know JC was wondering that question, is it going to work with a regular USB connection? The answer so far is yes, because it did just show up on this laptop here, which does not have Thunderbolt at all. So that's a good sign that it does work across the board. I also have somewhere a USB-C to USB-A cable, and I'll plug it into that real quick, and we'll see if it can plug into the USB-A port on this laptop. And where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. Here's one. All right, let's try this one out. So we're going to unplug it here. Let me just get this out of there. And this obviously won't perform as well because it's USB, 10 gigabits or whatever. All right, so we can remove that. So let's unplug it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it into the USB port here. By the way, this is like, I really like this laptop. You can't play games on it or anything like that, but it is so light. It's got a 12-inch display. This is the Pixel. This is not Pixel. Surface, the Surface Laptop Go. So Pixel Vogue had a different result on their Orico Thunderbolt 3 40 gigabits enclosure with the Sabrent drive. Yeah, it's going to vary, I think, based on the drives you attach to it. I'm going to I'm going to plug it into my other Mac and just see what it does. But you know what? There's always a cost with these enclosures. And Pixel is doing it on the Mac Mini M1. And there could be a little bit. Does the Mac Mini have a 4-lane port? I don't remember. Okay, so plugged into the regular USB, it does not appear to be working. And it could be a bad, the cable. But it's definitely not showing up here at all. The light's not coming on, nothing. Okay, so let me try one more thing, and then I've got it run. I've got another cable that I can plug in. This could just be a cable that it doesn't like. Let me go find that other cable real quick. It's a USB. See, most of the time I can just look here on the floor, and I've got like a million cables that just sit on the floor all day because I just toss them aside when I'm done with them. And this is not how it should be. But I have nobody here anymore. Jake used to help me out, but Jake can't come in right now. He will be back. He still works for me, but he's we don't have good ventilation here. I don't meet the guidelines. And if I don't have to have somebody here, let's not risk it right now. Okay. So plug this in, and plug that in. All right, so now it's just like a cable that I know works, and it just doesn't. So, okay, there it goes. Yep, so it'll work on regular USB, USB-C, and Thunderbolt. How about that? So it is compatible across the board. Good stuff. That seems to work. By the way, this is a touchscreen too. Is this such a nice little laptop? It's so light. I can't even tell you how light this thing is. And you know what I like the best about it? It's got an i5 1065. It doesn't have the Iris graphics, but it is great for what I do here on the studio set, if you call this a set, because I use a lot of this NDI video stuff, and it can just encode it and do whatever. So. Good stuff. Yes, so Pete Davis says that the Mac Mini, yes, so this is why I think the lanes might make a difference. So I'm going to try it out on my other Mac in a little bit. The M1 Mac Mini has two 4-lane Thunderbolt 3s, and I think the Air just has a 2-lane Thunderbolt. So I'm going to probably enhance this review a bit. I'm going to make some notes here so I don't forget to do these things. We're going to look at roundup. So I need to do a couple things. We've got to do a MacBook Pro test, USB, shoot USB on the Windows computer. Yeah, I'm not going to bother really with testing the speed because it's just not, it's not going to be much to talk about. I might just run a little speed test when we have it plugged in, but yeah, there we go. All right, so folks, I got to run because I got to get on this call. I have two calls like overlapping each other, so I'm going to finish this up after the call is done. But I got about 80% of the video shot here already, which is great. And I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I thank you all for your support as always. And let me see what we got here, and then I'm going to yeah. So I gotta get out of here. So I want to thank Brian Parker, and I want to thank Grayson for your Super Chat contributions. I greatly appreciate your support. I appreciate everybody that's been watching and chatting as well, because your input while I make these videos is very valuable as well. So thank you all for everything that you have helped me out with here. And I will be finishing up this video. It's going to be up probably in the next day or two. So stay tuned. It will be there very shortly. Thanks, everybody. I will see you all very soon.